I'm Alex Edelstein. I'll be showing you a little bit of the new Flow Builder and a bunch of the new exciting Flow screen components and actions that are available. The Lightning Flow, as many of you know, is part of the overall Lightning platform. And one of its great strengths is its ability to provide functionality in a range both from no-code, drag and point and click, to powerful enterprise integration. We've done a lot of things on on both ends of that spectrum this release, and let's dive into that. The first thing I'm going to show you, though, is the one thing that we're not actually shipping this release, but there's so much interest in our new Flow Builder that I couldn't resist giving a demonstration of what's available. So if we can turn to the demo, what you're seeing here on screen is our Flow Builder. We're very close to having it fully released. This is an actual flow, and you can see that if I pop into one of these screens, you can see all of the components are available on the right. Properties and configuration are available on the left. And one of the things that I can show you that I think will be very appreciated is I'm going to compare the time it takes to refresh this page to the time it takes to refresh this page using the old Cloudflow Designer with a single node. So let's refresh this one and count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it took about 5 or 6 seconds. And now let's go and do the same thing over here in this more complex flow. And it's already done. How about that? Lightning Flow Builder, much faster, much higher performance. And so that's very exciting. Let's go back to the slides. And the next area that I want to talk to you about, where there's been tremendous innovation for Winter 19, is the area of flow actions. And that starts with the new Flow Solutions section of AppExchange. So there is now a dedicated place on AppExchange that you can go and find flow actions, flow solutions, and flow screen components. And I only have time to show you a few, but here's a list of the inaugural set of actions and components that are available at no charge to be installed today into Flow. These are all official. Everything on AppExchange goes through security review. And so let's take a look at a couple of these examples. First, I'm going to show you something simple but very powerful. For a long time, we wanted to make it easy to send an SMS message from inside of a flow. So I'm going to give you an example of that. And I'm going to go over here to this flow, and I'm going to run it. And I'm going to actually use our new debugger to run it. It's not so new anymore, but I still love showing that off. And if you heard that, that was the sound of an SMS message actually coming to my phone almost instantaneously. And if we look back at the flow itself, you can see the action right here. Here it is. And so when you install an action like that from AppExchange, it shows up right here on your flow palette. It can be dragged right in. You don't have to write code. In this case, we simply are passing in the SMS number to send to. In some cases, there's a place in custom metadata that allows you to store a token to a web service. And that's an example. You can imagine different scenarios, but I want to give you a demonstration of how cool the things you can build are when you've got tools like Send SMS Message. So I'm going to show you a demonstration now. If we switch back to the slide, then let's take a look at how SMS can be integrated with chatbots. So chatbot technology, very powerful, new, released. And in Winter 19, you can use chatbots with flows, and you can have chatbots launch flows. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take you over to Community Cloud. And we're in Community Cloud here. And I am looking, I'm a customer, I am using this financial portal, and I want to start a chat session. So I start my chat session here, and you might have seen us do this demo in the past. We've shown integration between Community Cloud and Service Cloud before, but we've never shown this. What you see right here on the screen is Chatbot technology. So the first thing our customer wants to do is they want to set up a walk-in appointment. So they click on that, and that activates the Chatbot. And the Chatbot goes, you know what? I can deliver this without any additional identity confirmation. So I have the ability to simply pick my appointment. So far, so good. But let's say that I now want to ask the Chatbot for an account balance. Now the bank in this case wants to verify my identity. So what they've just done, you might have heard that, they've just sent me using a flow, they've sent me an SMS. On the screen it says, please enter the confirmation code. I can go right down here and see that it's 4362. I type that into my chatbot. The chatbot actually uses flow again to verify that is the correct amount, and you can see right here the account balance is actually shown. And then if I want to talk to an agent, I also can do that because of integration between Community Cloud, Chat, and Service Console. I'm going to click Transfer to Agent. And you can hear that over in Service Cloud, an agent is able to pick that up and take that transition seamlessly from the chatbot experience to a live chat experience. And so what you really have there is so many different pieces of Salesforce technology coming together, and flow and these individual little modest flow components and actions allowing very powerful applications to be built without any code whatsoever. So let's go back to the slides. So we talked about this. We were able to confirm the identity. We were able to have a flow activated by Chatbot. The Chatbot didn't have to worry about any of the details of sending that SMS out. That was completely taken care of. And for that matter, Flow didn't have to worry about the details of sending that SMS out because we used Twilio technology and were able to install that with one click. Here's a look at how you might configure that. This is some of the Chatbot interface, some of the setup. You can see how you can point a Chatbot action at one of these flows, pass it information, and then take the response data that comes back from that flow and use it for further parts of your Chatbot communication. So let's move on. Another new action. Chargent has brought Stripe integration. You can now process a credit card transaction in any flow screen. You just drop it in, connect it up to your Stripe account, and you're ready to go. There are so many of these that are available and are increasingly being made available as companies like Chargent take advantage of this component framework and this ability to use Lightning platform technology to make these pieces of functionality available in Flow. I wanted to show you a quick demo of one that I particularly like. This is a video player made available on AppExchange now by Vidyard. Now, if I go into this example, let's see, I have that right here. So I have my player right here, and it's going to play an MP4. But we've used the power of Flow to make this a little more clever. It's actually going to keep track of how long I watch the video. So watch what happens when I only watch the video for a few seconds. I'm watching the video, and then I say, okay, I want to move on. And I think I need to refresh that. Let's do that real fast. So in this case, because I only watched it for a couple seconds, Flow has received that information from the video component. So the video player tracked how long I watched it, passed that information to Flow, and then I was able to make my Flow configured so that since I didn't watch it for 5 seconds, I got essentially this message saying that I really need to go back and watch it again. So if I do that, and this time I'm going to let it run a little longer, and you can kind of imagine this could be useful in a training scenario. So now I give it a little more time. And enough videos watched, I can proceed down a different path of my flow. And so once again, that technology really available with simple drag and drop activity. So let's keep going. Now, We've talked about actions. I want to talk as well about more of the new screen components that will be available in Winter 19. If you watched in the summer, we were sharing some screen components that had been made available unofficially by the community. And what we did for winter is we took some of the most popular of those screen components and we built them right in. So I'm going to now go and let's pull this up and show this demonstration. I've got an image with some flow, with some web HTML click events being handled. You may recall this from some previous demos, but let's take a look at what's going on first on this screen. Actually, I'll come back to that screen. I'm going to show you this one. So here, some of the features that you saw on the slide there, these are new components. I've got here an email component that's going to validate and make sure that I type in an actual email component. I've got a slider component here that I can set to a default value. I can set the minimum and maximum ranges. I've got a phone number here, and that's going to have validation as well. And in a few minutes, I'll talk a little more about some of the validation services that we're now making available to all components. And if we go back to the slide, you can see these three of which you've just seen, slider, email address, phone number, URL, all built into Flow as new screen components taking available of the platform. Let me talk about one that's a little more powerful. We're starting to deliver components that are designed to save you time. This is called simply the name form. And what it's designed to do is let you bring up a full name form inside of Flow without having to actually manually add all of the form fields individually. So if we go back to the demo, you can see, let me take this back here. This is what the name form looks like, and you can see that I've got 6 different fields here. I've got a drop down that's full of salutation, but if we go back to the slide, you can see that to configure that, I only needed to set 2 things in Flow. I didn't need to manage all of those individual fields. And there's more like this coming down the path to make it easy to do a lot of automatic creation of screens. The next one I'm going to show you is dependent pick list. We have had an unofficial version of dependent pick list, but we got some feedback from our Flow HANA that they wanted more. So we not only built it in, but we added some functionality to it. So if we go back to the demo, you can see up here I've got a manufacturer, and when I select one of the values of this controlling pick list, I get the appropriate dependent pick list. If I go here and I change it, I get a different set of values. So what's new? One of the things that's new, if you go back to the slide, is that we take advantage of all of your field dependencies. So if you're already creating field dependencies to control all of your different pick list relationships, that's now part of the control. We will automatically detect that field dependency and use it to set up the dependency relationship in the Flow screen. And then the additional thing that I'm not actually showing you right here, is that we actually let you do 2 levels of dependency. So you can have a pick list that leads to a pick list, and then the selection there leads to a third pick list, all set up with just a couple of changes. One of the areas of feedback we've gotten a lot of requests for is I want more dynamics on my Flow screen. I want to be able to make things show and hide, and I want to be able to progressively build. So we have a rich roadmap of how we intend to bring more and more functionality of that sort here. So let's keep going with the next slide. You may have noticed that we're working, as part of the Flow Builder, we're working on integrating these components in more effectively. Now, if we look down here at the demo, you can see that today it's not the easiest thing in the world to add component, you have to go up here. You have to go to this Lightning component. You have to pick from a pick list with some complicated namespace information, and then you have to do all of your configuring in these two columns. And I wanted to show you, you may have noticed this, but when I brought up the Flow Builder and pulled up the screen, you can see some of the improvements here in the left column. So we are integrating all of the components with the built-in original core elements. This is all going to get easier. We're working on a lot of improvements, not only to that usability, but to also making it easier to configure these components, because the components are getting more complex, and yet we want to make it much easier for you to tell a component what you want it to do when the flow runs. So we're only at the beginning. The Flow Builder that we're about to release is really only the start of a journey. Once we have our new Flow Builder platform, we have a rich roadmap of ease of use, adoption, and usability improvements that we intend to make going forward. All right, let's keep going. Go back to the slide. And I want to talk about something that we're very excited about. This is possibly the thing that has the Flow HANA talking the most, and that's, of course, the new toggle component. Now, a few crusty members of the Flow HANA have said, well, wait a second, isn't this just a checkbox? Isn't this just a glorified checkbox? And I'm here to tell you today that there really is so much more to the Flow toggle screen component than that. It's a state-of-the-art two-position toggle, and it has dynamic tri-value label support. You can see up here on the screen that you not only have the label on the left, but you can have both an inactive value on the bottom and an active value on the bottom as well. That's not one, that's not two, that's tri. And in addition to that functionality, we're pleased to announce that the new Flow Screen Toggle component meets all pending FedRAMP and GDPR toggle standards. It's available in a rich blue color. And we've added that extra check mark. You can see it there on the right, because a few people were saying, hey, look, I know that you've got the color, I know that you've got the labels, but I'm still not confident that my user is going to know that that toggle is enabled. So we brought the checkbox and we brought that check mark back so that you can have what they refer to in the financial industry as true belt and suspenders confidence. You know how many points, Joe, that toggle is going to retire on ID Exchange?
No, tell me.
27 million points.
27
million points. And that's all because of the power of Flow components. So let's keep moving on the slides.
I learned some new terms today on the slide. This is a great slide.
Yes, absolutely. The final thing I do want to remind you is that while the toggle component is available in all countries, it is subject to local toggle regulation. Okay, and with that, let's keep moving. And let me talk about a few component services in what time we have left. I mentioned validation. Those of you who are building components have asked, hey, I want to be sure that if my component doesn't have the right information, if I have a required field, but no one's filled in that field, I need to be a first-class citizen and make sure that the flow doesn't transition to the next screen. That functionality is now available in Winter 19, and several of the components that we're making available in Winter 19 take advantage of that out of the box. We also have added what we call flow memory for components. You may have noticed that if you add a component, fill in some values, move on to the next screen, and then later come back, that the component would have emptied out and reset itself. And we needed to provide a way that you could configure your flow to repopulate that value if you wanted to do that. So now, depending on whether you want the values to be remembered or whether you want the returning flow user to be able to start from scratch, you can have both ways. So we're continuing to invest in making components easier and more powerful to use in the flow environment. And with that, let's move on. A few brief mentions. We're very pleased to be able to extend to Community Cloud guest users the ability to run flows as well, because there's a lot of very interesting use cases that our Community Cloud Flow HANA members have been asking for, like self-registration and survey capability built right into the Community Cloud portal pages. That's now available. We've added some increases. We've made some substantial increases to limits. You can see them up here on the screen. We have dramatically increased the number of total processes and flows you can have. And also the number of active processes and flows you can have. And you get a separate quota for flows that run in Flow versus processes that run in Process Builder. And this is all part of our continued effort to improve scalability and make it possible to happily rely on Flow for your most intensive enterprise use cases. And then a few quick mentions at the end, some fairly technical stuff, but very beloved of some of our enterprise users and some of our ISVs and integrators. We've made a couple of improvements to Flow deployability. We now play very nicely with version control and continuous integration systems. When you do metadata retrieves, we're not going to be appending old version numbers and new version numbers to those file names, so the file name doesn't change. Why is this beneficial? Well, it turns out that modern Git-based version control and continuous deployment systems really rely on file names. And so although the versioning that Flow has always had available was way ahead of its time, it was time to make it possible to really participate effectively with modern version control systems. And related to that, we're now providing a mode where you can have all of your flows deployed as active, so that when you do a package deployment using your continuous integration or your continuous deployment system, you don't have to go in subsequently and manually activate those flows. Some of the things that we've done here really are in part because we're so excited about the SFDX that John's about to talk about, and we wanted to make sure that Flow was a first-class citizen there. And so with that, I'm very pleased to take any questions you might have.
Wow, I'm practically speechless. That was a lot of great new features. And I have to say, chatbots and flows, the possibilities are nearly endless. And I'm sure that there's lots of ideas that churning out there right now. And you've convinced me that a toggle is in fact more rich than
absolutely.
a checkbox. So
Absolutely.
I'm converted now. So how about everybody else out there? Let's take maybe 2 quick questions.
First question, what other screen components are in the works for Flow?
What else is in the works for Flow? Great question. Some of the things you can look forward to in spring include a address component that makes it really easy to throw up a full address form that includes, if you wish, access to the new global, state, and country pick lists. We're adding a record form-based component. What that means is you can add this component, you simply tell Flow what object you want it to be, and then what fields you want it to display. So you do that, and that just takes a couple of lines of text. And then Flow takes advantage of the power of Lightning-based components and displays the entire form, and even provides a dialog pop-up that automatically will save that form for your user when they fill in that field. So that's one more step you don't have to worry about. Another big one is the lookup component. The lookup component, very beloved. There are some great unofficial versions that the community's made available, and we are very looking forward to taking all of that goodness and bringing it in as an official out-of-the-box component.
And I think this is an important question. Will Flow Builder be able to load all of my existing flows? I've seen that in a variety of different formats throughout the community. So I've been using Flow. Will I be able to use Flow Builder for those flows?
The answer is yes. We have built Flow Builder from the ground up to be fully compatible with all of the existing Flow metadata. So all existing flows should work just fine in Flow Builder.
this is a great question. So this is for James. He's asking this for everybody. What is the best way for an intermediate level admin to really dive in and be properly trained on flow, to become a flownatic, to be well versed, and especially if they're not a developer, how do they get started? What do you recommend?
That's a great question. The first answer to a question like that is always, of course, the trailheads. We've got some basic, starting from nothing, here's how you can learn. We actually start off talking about the different workflow automation tools that you can choose from. There's Flow, there's Process Builder, and there's a couple others. And then we provide tutorials and guidance on the trailhead to take you up to speed. Now, there's a new developer page as well that is available on Salesforce.com in the developer section, where all the flow-related material is combined. And that's a great resource. There's a couple of books that have been written by some of the more advanced members of the Flow HANA. So you can go to an online bookstore and search for Salesforce Flow, and you'll find some good resources there. There's also a couple of great blog posts, blogs by some of our Flow HANA members, and you can find information about those in a variety of places, including our Trailblazer community for workplace automation. Workflow automation, sorry. So a lot of different tools, and if you don't find exactly what you're looking for, just ask a couple questions online, because the Flow HANA community is very eager to help newcomers learn how to take advantage of all of this great tech.